We're going to be covering in this very simply the basics of testing, right? Which includes item writing, the stages basically of, what are the steps or the stages of psychometric, like building a scale, uh, item analysis, factor analysis, um, what else? We're also covering this. The theories we're doing today. Oops, don't see the question. Theories we're doing today. Classical test theory, IRT. Uh, Along with that, we'll also be covering some certain tests, right? Neuropsychological tests, personality tests, attitude tests, response formats. All of them we're not doing today, but that's a general idea of what we're going to be covering in psychometry. Today, we're just getting an overview. Okay. So before we start also with the class, uh, with the session, with our discussion with this related to the picture. Let's do a very brief MCQ thing. Okay, let's see where we stand, what we know, what we don't know. So we also get an idea of what our base is. All right. Okay. Let's start. Let's simple, very easy one. Which of the following best defines psychometry? Very simple. We're starting off simple. Okay. Yes, C is the right one. Awesome. Next. Again, simple only. Correct. Internal consistency. Okay. Next. In IRT, the item characteristic curve represents what? Very unsure, very unsure. The right answer is B. Don't worry. We'll go over ICC today only. Deceive us. Yes. The answer is B. It's okay. We'll go over ICC today. We'll have a look at it. Next. Simple only. What the purpose of factor analysis in psychometric testing is dash. Read carefully. Yep. Identify the clusters or what we just call factors basically. We'll go over that also. EFA, CFA, PCA. And these also have their own kind of a thing, right? With extraction, rotations, assumptions like KMO, Matlet. All of that we will cover when we're covering psychometry. Okay, not all of this we won't cover today. That's this not possible, but we will be covering all of this. So, what is psychometry? Tell me. What is psychometry about? Yeah, let's keep this interactive. What is psychometry about? Investigation, that's research, no? What's the difference then? All about testing, measurement, and quantification of what? If I take a ruler and I measure my laptop or my phone, that's psychometric. Psychological attributes. What is that? Quantifying of behavior. So if I am quantifying like how many times I can juggle a ball, that's psychometric. If I want to see how fast someone is driving and how hard they push the accelerator, that's psychometric. Metrics by which we measure behavioral traits. Behavioral traits. How can something be a behavior and a trait? Are you talking about traits that behaviors that emulate a trait? Measuring psychological traits. Awesome. What is a psychological trait? What are psychological concepts, traits, variables, whatever new words you want to come up with to describe the same thing. What is it? What is a psychological trait, concept, variable? Tell me. Construct. Okay, what is the construct? What is the construct here? Because that's just we're just moving in circles now. What is a psychological concept? It's a construct. What's a concept? It's a psychological trait. Our biases, likes, dislikes. That's psychological traits. Or those are examples of psychological traits. Check the reliability validity. What's that going to do? Think about it. Say you're telling me that I have this one test. Okay, I check the reliability; it's consistent. I check the validity, fine. What is the validity doing? It's checking with another intelligence test. How do I know this is valid? I have to go back and see what this has been validated with. Now I keep going back, and I see that what is the starting point. So if I keep going with reliability and validity, where is that taking me? Taking me nowhere. Anything related to human cognition, behavior, etc. So using an MRI or EEG is psychometry as well. Measurement of psychological dimensions in physical manner. What do you mean physical manner? If I tell you to run from here to there, that's psychological. Measurement of psychological dimension. Think about it, people. Think. Anything which determines an individual behavior, thoughts, or feelings in various situations. What is being determined? Tell me. What is being determined? Can I have a scale tell that okay, this is how you're going to act, think, feel? Hmm? A mental representation or idea that categorizes objects, events, or experiences based on shared characteristics. That's the definition of schema. Schema and sorry, I don't. I'm not being strict. I'm just trying to do a Socratic reasoning kind of a thing. Of I'm trying to push you to think about this properly because we assume we understand it. We assume that we know this, but let's dig a little deeper to check if we really know it. Because if we don't understand what psychometry is doing, it, item analysis, fact analysis, none of them will make sense really. Something that cannot be overtly observed. So I cannot observe the air with my eyes. So that's psychometric. Ari, we're coming back to the same thing, quantifying psychological concepts. Fine. What is psychological concept? Measuring which helps us understand a particular personality trait. So IQ or sub kuch chhod do, only personality. And even if personality, fine, what is personality then? Come on, guys, dig deeper. Right. Think. There is one very, very crucial thing about psychometry. It's the most important. And I'm not seeing that one thing come. Nope. Standardization is the method, right? It's like how do I put it? Um, it's like cutting tomatoes, right? The tomato is of the essence. Standardization is like everyone is being told you have to cut it like this, but it's the tomato that's important. So classification of what? Creation of scales. Areva. Scales, what scales? If I have a measuring tape, that's psychometry. Come on, guys. We're moving backward. What is the psychological construct? What are we measuring? Okay. Scales like personality, attitudes, etc. Okay. What are these? Personality, attitudes, what are they? Measures are you measures of what? Attributes. And what are these attributes? Help us describe people in certain terms or characteristics. How? Whatever we are studying in psych, genius. Who are you so wise in the ways of science? Descriptions, variables, it covers everything in psych. Noting what all can exist. Very philosophical. measuring various characteristics or aspects of a person's behavior. So that's behaviorist, no? To make intangible to tangible. Okay, getting slightly closer. Human characteristics. So my hair also counts. How much hair I have. That's human characteristic, no? What color my eye is. That's also psychometric. Also, someone said helping us describe people in certain terms. Tell me something. If let's say there's a person, okay, let's say there's a scale, okay, some scale is there. Scale says that if you score 40 on this, you likely have depression. This person over here scored 40. Does this mean he has depression? Yes, no, maybe. Can we say that? Can we say he has depression or not? There's some a depression scale, okay? And it says that if you score 40, it means you have like they usually have depression. So can I say that this person who scored 40 has depression? I can say that. Mm. To quantify psyche, what is psyche? Mental processes, behavior. Studying psychology and then using psychometric tests to find result. Areva, very nice. You see the circular logic there? There was this guy called, his name was Boring. Okay, his name was Boring. I'm not even kidding. He wrote IQ tests. Sorry, intelligence, my bad. He wrote intelligence is what IQ tests measure. It reminds me of that definition. You see the circularity, right? Here, let's say I put intelligence here, I'll put IQ. What is IQ? It's what's measuring intelligence. What is intelligence? It's what IQ tests measure. Yes. Maybe it just measures the construct. Okay, what is the construct? Measuring how accurate a particular trait is. What is accuracy over here? Like, what do you mean accurate a particular trait is? If the scale is standardized, then okay. No, depends on the properties. Okay. Hmm. Parents of the year. Assessing something that is not directly observable. I can't observe, let's say, the back of my head. So if looking in the mirror or taking a picture of my head from behind is psychometric. To give language to study. Huh? Okay. We'll move past this, others will be here forever. Answer this question, and this will tell you exactly why there's a problem in the way we think of psychometry. No, no, no. You know what? I'm going to say yes. I agree. You can. Oh, I said yes, so now I also saying yes. The most important thing, okay, I'll tell you why I agree with this. The most important thing about psychometry or testing is that it's measuring something known as the latent trait. This is the word I was waiting for. And why does this matter? What does this mean? Why is this different from the just the construct that we're talking about? When we think of a depression scale, we think it's in one person over here that they have some kind of a depression, and we are measuring this. Answer to show ka naam nikla, yes. But the way psychometry really works is it's a little different. It's not saying that this person is depressed. The scale is not saying that at all. What it's saying is that there are these people. Okay, let's take many people over here. Let's represent them in a box. Okay, many people. Okay, you get the idea. And it's saying that I'm seeing some shared patterns here. And based on that, I'm trying to infer something. If you want a simpler example, say I uh, can see that there are 1 lakh candles in a box. Okay, very huge box. But I can't see that they are, lit up or not. Let's say there's 1 candle here, 1 candle here, okay, 1 candle here. I don't know if it's lit up or not. Okay, I can't see anything about this. Maybe it's not even a proper flame. Maybe, you see those electric candles where there's like a chota light in this. I cannot see this. So what psychometry is trying to do is it's trying to infer this. Infer what? Warmth. It can't see it. It can't zoom out a bit. Okay, this is better. It can't see the light. It can't see the warmth or anything, but it's trying to infer that it exists. Why? Because it can see some light. There would be real flames, right? Some real flames would be there, so it would be correct. It would also be wrong based on this because some are electric. So it would be wrong here, but still okay. It's a good approximation. So it's trying to infer this thing called warmth that you cannot see, that you cannot hear, that you cannot touch rarely. It's something that you feel, right? It's something that's there. Similarly, it's taking these group of people and it's trying to infer something that's within them. Within them as in something that's hidden, unobservable, a latent trait. That is the core idea of all of psychological tests. Right. And later when we are doing factor analysis, this is very, very, very crucial, right? For you to understand also the difference between common variance and unique variance. This is a very, very, very crucial idea. So you are not saying anything about this candle. You are talking about what you can infer in general from them about warmth. Same thing that we're doing over here, that we're taking these people and we're trying to infer something. A simple example I like to give is, let's say that I have an item here that I like being the center of attention, right? This is an item that I have. This can indicate extroversion or narcissism. Extroversion or narcissism. So any individual item can refer to many, many different things. Say I add one more item here. I like talking to people. Now, this also is about extroversion. So the basic idea of psychometry is that it's taking these items and trying to reduce something like something that we're not measuring. What we're trying to measure is extroversion. But if I only take the first one, it will include narcissism as well. So it's trying to remove this guy out. That if I'm trying to measure this hidden trait called extroversion, ye baki ka log, the other people should not come in. So narcissism shouldn't come in. So the core idea behind psychometry is this, that there's a latent trait, and the latent is what I want to measure, right? A trait I want to measure, and minus what I want to exclude. I'll just write exclude over here. Why? Because I don't want narcissism to be picked up by my scale. If I'm making an extroversion scale, I don't want narcissism to be picked up as well. Doesn't make sense then. So your latent trait, very simply, is this is what we call as common variance. We'll get to it when we discuss factor analysis. And what you want to exclude. This is basically similar to error, right? Error you might have studied. So for now, what you need to understand is that we're trying to infer something that doesn't exist. Like, it doesn't exist in the real world in a way. So when I say, can I put a number on depression? I'm not putting a number on your depression. Let's say this person, I'm not putting a number on your depression. I'm putting a number on this hypothetical construct called depression that we have inferred. Clear so far of what is the basic essence of psychometric theory? When we're saying we're measuring psychological traits or psychological variables, we're talking about the latent. There are the number are not what independent of, since it's an inference of the individual. It's not an inference of the individual. That's the thing. It's not an inference of one person. It cannot be. It's an inference from a very large number of people. And what it's doing is it's trying to check, let's say there's a pattern, right? That you're inferring divided by the error. You'll see later how factor analysis is actually doing it. We'll go over the factor analysis stats. The way it's doing it is very cool. That is just norms. I'm not talking about norms. The number here is just the fact that we're trying to number here refers to the correlational structure for this, right? When I'm saying that I have inferred something like depression, right? The factor loadings you might have heard of, there would be like one factor here, 1, 2, 3. There's some factor loadings here. These are all numbers that show me the pattern. This pattern is what? The latent. That is depression. Makes sense. Clear so far? Any questions? So it's just a number, and what we make of it is our observation of large group. Kind of, yes, but it's beyond that also. Thoda. I mean, I'm not. I don't want to go into all of factorial stats right now, but yeah. Take it. Now, what you need to know is that scale development occurs in mainly 4 stages, right? First is you have to define the construct. Define the construct, that what is the thing that I want to build a scale on depression, on anxiety, on schizophrenia, whatever it is. What is my latent, or what is like the latent I'm looking for, right? The construct is something I have to define. Then I have to create. Second step is create items. Oops. Create items. Those also have some rules that we'll cover. Then the third step is running a pilot study. Pilot studies are very, very important. Lastly, you are conforming in a way. One second. What is the point of the pilot? The pilot's job is to explore whether the latent really is there, whether it makes sense to explore this, etc., etc. And then you are just confirming what you're explored. So those are the 4 steps of psychometry. You have to define the construct, you have to generate items, do a pilot study to explore, and do a confirmatory to confirm the exploration that you just did. Depression is like a name for the pattern observed consistently. Yes, exactly. Perfectly right. Very well framed. So these are the 4 stages or steps of creating a scale that you go through. And between these, you will come across reliability, validity, factor analysis, blah, blah, blah. I won't focus on this right now too much. When I send you we're also going to cover all of this right now only. But when I'll send you these slides, some parts of the slides at least. Okay. So the very first thing is defining a construct. I've already gone over the latent, right? The latent space. And you also have some observed variables called the manifest space. You already might know this already. This is a simple example, right? Cold is a good example here. Cold. What you can observe is a runny nose, cough, sneeze, a sore throat, but you can't observe a cold. You can't observe that you have a cold. Cold is a pattern. It's a concept that consistently exists over, different people, different times. What you can observe is that someone is sneezing, someone is coughing. If you only see someone sneezing and coughing, you might assume it could be TB, it could be something else, it could be 100 different things. But this unique pattern points to one latent called cold. And the same applies to a good number of every single scale that exists. That is the pattern we're looking for. Yeah, this is a example of what that looks like. Right on the left, you have these. On the left side, you have the items. Each of the individual boxes are just items. And on the right side, you have the factors. This is from anyone know which scale this is? Anyone knows which scale this is from? Take a look at the factors. There's six factors. 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyone wants to guess? No? No one's heard of the scale? No. It's a very famous scale. I'll give you a hint also. It's used in career counseling. Very, very famous. Yes. It's Holland's Reisek. Holland Reisek scale. Ah, okay, my bad. Yes, it's the Reisek scale. You have realistic, investigative, artistic, I forgot what, social, I guess, enterprising, conventional. Here are some more examples of the structures. Okay, these are called factor structures. You can see here. What is this a scale of? Anyone wants to guess? Yes, exactly. It's depression. Now, a depression scale, something like Beck's depression inventory, will be unidimensional, right? Only one dimension. But here you can see there's two, right? Here is depression as the higher order factor, and below that they have separated into two types: non-somatic and somatic. So that makes it multidimensional. So same scale could be presented in different ways across. Does anyone know very famous one unidimensional scale? Very famous. Used for self-esteem. Shall I've just given you the name almost. Yes, Rosenberg scale, right? Rosenberg self-esteem scale is a very old one, and it's unidimensional. But now people have taken this scale and created new versions. They've revised it, and their revised versions have 2 factors or 3 factors and multiple factors. So the scale would be the dimensionality is pretty much dependent on the researcher and how they want to frame that. This is an example of a nomological map that I don't, for now, I'll ignore. Later, we'll come back to. Okay. Awesome. Let's go to the second stage, which is writing items. Now, usually what happens is you will, yes, it is dependent on how you define the construct. If you define depression as unidimensional, your scale will end up being unidimensional. It is better to look at the research and look at the founding, the ROL and stuff, but honestly, it's usually the researchers' biases influence in a way that affects it. Coming back, what you end up usually doing when you're writing the items is you end up creating more than you need. Say you want a scale that is 20 items, okay? You will create how many? 60 items, almost 3 times. Why? Why would I do that? If I want only 20 items, I'll make only 20. No, why should I make 60? Exactly. Because they have to, go under kind of a refinement to see which one works, which one don't. So yeah, to choose the best items. Exactly. Yep. So the item pool will always be larger. Now there's different rules for it. Some people say that it should be 2 to 3 times larger. Some people say that there needs to be 10 items extra per factor. It really depends. There's no standard rule. But what you need to remember is that it's usually greater. Um, oh, it's almost 7 times. Now, there are a few item writing rules. I'm not going to go over all of them right now. You can, there's a lot to, like, if you read it, you'll understand it. I'll send you this. You can just read it over. But what you need to know is that one is that your items should reflect what your construct is about. If I'm making a scale on, let's say, personality, I can't have items like who is the president of India. That's, do you know which scale has that question? That such question. Which scale would have such a question? In fact, which scale does have this question? I think it does. Yeah. Who was the first prime minister of India? Yeah. Which scale has this question? Anyone knows? No, but with Mystic, you're close to it. Yes, Bayes, exactly. Which subscale of Bayes? I'll be very impressed if you know this. Verbal, no. Yes, information, very nice. We'll go over test, you don't worry. But beat me, I'll also in the middle, I'll also ask about it. Like, just hey, it's okay, don't worry. They'll come to it. In the middle, I'll also like try to bring up other scales, so it integrates to it. So you need to make sure that your items correspond with your construct. Okay, they have to reflect. And the way we check that also, the next thing is that only. I'll answer that later. Now, next, using clear and concise language. This, I think it's fairly simple. You can just read through it when I send you slides. Double barrel. This is an important thing. Double barrel, they ask questions about it. That a particular item, right, should not reflect two different ideas. Let's say I have one idea and a second idea. It should only reflect one idea. For example, I like talking to my friends and being the center of attention. This item has two ideas in it, not just one. Now, anyone else wants to give me an example? Let's say for conscientiousness for a big five. What would be an example of a double-barreled item? Conscientiousness for personality. What would be a double-barrel item? Double barrel. I like things organized is a proper item. It's a correct item. Here we're looking at item writing rules. I like to be punctual and organized. Exactly. That's two different ideas. That I like to be punctual and I like to be organized. Those are two separate ideas that I have put into one item. Anyone else wants to try giving an example? It doesn't have to be conscientious. You can give any other idea, item also that you have in your mind. Anxiety, stress. Doesn't have to be opposite of each other. It just has to be two ideas that are there in one item instead of just one idea. Like your item is proper, it's correct. I like things organized. That is how an item should be. But the way Divya has given an example, even Unnati has given an example, right? I like to be aloof and quiet. That's two different ideas. Although aloof and quiet are similar in meaning, so it should be okay. But even then, it's usually not preferred. I like to be punctual and organized. Those are two separate ideas. I like to be clean and calm. See, two separate ideas. Very good. I know I am anxious when I feel restless and irritable. That okay, kind of, yes. Although it could qualify depending on how the factor analysis would do. I like to be honest and kind. Yeah, see, two different ideas. Not necessarily different, but two discrete ideas. Very nice. Now, usually, the next rule you can see here is minimizing the use of negatives. Usually, they recommend not using words that have negatives, especially double negatives. Not, can't, not, definitely not recommended. But if you have to use it, they recommend that you capitalize it. And honestly, the ironic thing over here is that net will ask you questions like this, right? Which of the following is not a part of, let's say, psychodynamic school, but they will not bold make this bold. So it's ironic. Yeah. Then you will see stuff like write a clear stem. The stem is the the item basically, and it should be self-contained and meaningful, right? It needs to be self-contained. If it there is a correct answer, right? The cognitive tests usually have a correct answer. So if there's a correct answer, it has to be only one answer. The others can't be possibly true. The others can't be possibly true. It can be like good enough to be almost correct, but not correct. It can't. You can't have two right answers. Distractors, they have to be as close to each other as possible, and you will see this now when you solve MCQs for net. You will realize how realistic the distractors are. You'll think all four answers are right, and you'll wonder what to pick. So incorrect options, that is the distractors, should be realistic and attractive. Sometimes what you see is in some MCQs, no, it'll be like, okay, here's the question, here's the first answer, which is this big, the second answer, which is this big, the third answer, which is very big, and the fourth answer, which is this big. What ends up happening, you realize that the third one is the right one. Why? Because there's more information in it. So you end up picking that. But this is a poor item. Because you're not, for the content of it, you're not picking it. You're picking because it looks like the right item. So this also is something you have to be careful about. The distractors have to be realistic. Grammar, blah, blah, blah. Basic stuff, you can read into that. Next, you have to avoid extreme stuff and like all of the above, none of the above. It's usually recommended not to do that. Yeah. Usually recommend not to do that. And lastly, more importantly, you have to randomize the position of the correct answers. You can't just have C, 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 C is the right answer. I mean, that's a psychological warfare at that point with the people who are giving the exam, because you're just messing with them because every option is C. What the heck is going on? So let's try this. Okay. Let's do some MCQ. This is how it could show up in your net exams. So which of the following is considered good practice in writing multiple choice questions? Net could ask you a question like this. What is the answer? Yeah. C. Correct. Okay. Next thing. This is a part of the second step, right? When we are generating the uh, items, very, very crucial, very, very important. Where expert review, you are basically going to these people and you're telling them, these people, and you're telling them, hey, look at my items. No, I have written these items. Look at them and tell me if one, it's appropriate, like APPR, or it's not appropriate, or if it needs to be modified. It looks something like this, right? Say I have experts over here on the left. Okay. Oops, let me turn it my pencil input. I have 5 experts over here. A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, that's their names for now. Experts. Oh wait, more than that. There's G, H, F also. G, H also. My bad. And you can see here, this is the item. I enjoy working with whatever. And here you can see they've given their comment on it, that it's all appropriate. So what we end up doing it, you can see here, one person has said that it needs modification. They've also given a comment on it. And we create a score, right? We create a score that 7 people have said appropriate. Then we do 7 divided by the total number of people. Do you know what this is called? This process, this calculation. Do you know what it's called? I'll be impressed if you know. CVI, वो क्या होता है? Expand for everyone. Come on. No one wants to guess what this is? Repeat which part? Content validation index, yes. Could But very simply, the basic idea is just that it's inter rater in a way. You have different raters, different experts who are coming to judge something. Now, we're not going exactly into the expert rater formula and all of that for now, but that is the very basic idea. You have some number of people, right? These experts who are giving their opinion on this. They are rating it as something, and you're taking their total rating, they are rating, and dividing it by the total. That is the basic idea of it. No mean. There's no mean only because that's it. The number of rating and divided by total gives me this. Yeah, it's pretty much. It's not inter-rater reliability per se, but it's just inter-rater agreement of how many of them agree that I should keep this item. I'll get to that. I'll get to that question. Give me 1 second. Let people just get a hold of this. I'm waiting to get to that question. Look at the second item as an example over here. Okay, I continued working on blah 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 whatever. First person has said what needs modification. Okay, let's put this as 0 then for now. Second person has put 1 appropriate, so 1. I'll put needs modification as 0. 1 1 0 0 1. So how many people have agreed? 4. You can see here 4 people have agreed. So whatever it is, it's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 8 people in all. So how am I calculating this? I'm basically just doing 4. How many people have agreed divided by the total number of raters, 8, and basically then just converting into percentage. 50% have agreed. So if it's below 70%, you typically don't keep the item, or you have to modify it. Now, does anyone know what is this whole process called as? This whole process of doing an expert review, what does it come under? Internal validity, no. Internal validity is about the cause and effect relationship. But you're close. It's a kind of validity. Yes, it's content validity. It's content validity. Because you're going to these experts and you're asking for them to rate the content, to rate the item, to rate how appropriate it is, whether it should be modified, whether it should be removed. Now, to ask Divya's question back to you, I am calling these experts, no, to fill out my form and judge my items. Who are these experts? Who are the experts? Okay, let's take an example. Let's say I want to create an ADHD scale. Who is an expert then? Who would I call to judge my scale? Let's say I want to create ADHD scale. Let's say I have made the items, everything is ready, and I want to send my scale to experts for validation, for content validity, for their review. So who are these experts I'll reach out to? Someone who has ADHD? Yes, very good. Who else? Someone who has been researching it for a very long time. A psychiatrist, experienced people with specialized training, who are working in the field, people who work with people with ADHD. Neuropsychologists, caregivers. Why people with ADHD? Why not? Who is a better expert? MHP. Now, here's the thing, no? When I say expert, I'm not referring to someone with a degree. I'm not doing that. I'm referring to someone who has insight into that construct. So that can include who? That can include people with ADHD. It can include their parents. Someone also said caregivers, siblings, relatives. It can include researchers. It can include MHP, like psychiatrists, psychologists, psychiatric social workers, counseling psychologists, blah, 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 so many. So these all constitute teachers. How can I forget special educators, teachers? How can I forget teachers? These also constitute as this. Yeah, lived experience experts, people researching the constructs, occupational therapists. Have you attended my psychometry webinars before? Because I have used that exact sentence before. Yeah. So this whole thing is a part of content validity. Okay, doesn't look like I have time to do test theories. Why 70 is the benchmark? It's kind of a standard practice that at least 70% should agree. 70 to 80% of the people should agree to the item. Yeah. There's no strict reasoning that at 70% it becomes accurate or something. No, that at least 70% should agree. But the thing is, you need to also have a good amount of uh, this, right? People you're in who are filling the form, who are the experts. Because if you have only three people who are filling your form, and from that two of them say agree, you just have 66.6% for all items on which two people agree. So you need to also have like around 6 to 8 experts usually. What space is given for individual subjectivity from the expert when deciding uh, appropriateness? Is it defined for them? Yes. So usually when you're giving this to them, right, you are also defining a lot of the things. You are defining uh, the construct. Firstly, you're giving them an operational definition. You're telling them that based on your experience, your expertise, do you think that for this construct, this item is appropriate? No, no, no. Experts can't be in 100, man. It's scarcity. So this is kind of almost not really quantitative, but closer to qualitative because you're trying to get their opinion on something. So you don't have to have hundreds and hundreds for expert review. Expert review, you can have around 6 to 8. If your study is funded well enough, you can have 11 to 15 also. Not a problem. 3 to 5 also usually is okay. Any doubts, any questions? I don't think I can start test theories, unfortunately. Thoughts on using AI to write items? I would not recommend that because items are written based on the literature, based on your understanding of it. And AI is not going to be able to do that so well. What you can use it for is to refine your items, right? To make the language better, to word it properly. For that, we also use it to word our items properly because honestly, we are not all of us are English experts all the time. So it helps us rewrite it a little better, making more succinct. Thoughts on, okay, what was the second part of the thing? Best answer among options. How do we identify a best answer among options of a construct while maintaining realistic distractors? Here there will be a clear right answer. No, take your MCQ options. Right, which of the following is, let's say, has the highest correlation? There is a clear right answer over there, but the others also will be fairly similar to it. In that psychometric, we remove things we don't want to study. I didn't get you. But is so far clear of what psychometry is and the first two stages. Yeah. Okay. I'll send you some stuff to read also. Some little, very brief intro part. Nothing too big. I really would like for you to have a slightly better, slightly nuanced understanding of psychometric theory. Because then when we talk about factor analysis and when they ask you to solve sums, right, of split half, of Spearman Brown, of whatever they ask you to do, they ask you questions on Bartlett's assumptions, the assumptions of Bartlett and stuff. It makes it easier to answer. Ah, okay, you're talking about the common variance and error variance. I'll get to the common variance when we're discussing factor analysis. When we're talking about factor analysis, we'll talk about common variance, error variance. ठीक है. There's a lot of fun stuff. In fact, I'll show you something very cool. Hold on. Lots of fun, cool stuff, but I'll show you. Look at this. This is an item characteristic curve drawn by John C. Raven. The person who created Raven's progressive matrices. He drew it by hand. I wanted to cover this today, but we don't have the time. He drew this by hand. Crazy, no? I'll explain ICC properly in the next session, but basically this is the score. Oops. Hold on. This is the total score. The right here. And this is the probability of them getting it right. So you can see here, right? At the lower items, the probability of getting it right is very high. But as the difficulty is increasing, right, over here, you can see as the total score is going, the probability of getting things right is dropping. It's more and more difficult, even though your score is increasing. For people who have a lower ability, it's practically impossible for them to score high on the difficult items. We'll come to ICC when we do it. Don't worry. Any questions?